There exists a powerful secret, hidden not in the distant future, but buried within the folds of your present thinking. A secret so profound that once understood, it renders time itself a servant to your will. You have been taught to wait, to hope, to strive endlessly toward a horizon that forever seems just out of reach. But what if I told you that the horizon is an illusion, that the future you seek is not ahead of you, but already within you? The principle is simple, yet it demands courage. Assume it happened yesterday. Yes, yesterday. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Yesterday. For the human mind, when impressed with belief and emotion, cannot distinguish between what has already occurred and what is vividly imagined. When you deliberately plant the idea that your goal is already achieved, you ignite a force within you that reshapes your reality. Consider this. The person who believes success is coming walks differently than the one who believes success is already theirs. One waits. The other acts, and action, decisive, confident, unwavering action, is the bridge between thought and reality. When you assume your desire has already materialized, you begin to think from a place of completion rather than lack. Doubt fades. Fear loosens its grip. Hesitation dissolves. In its place rises a quiet, unshakable certainty. You no longer ask, "Will it happen?" You declare, "It has happened," and in that declaration, your subconscious mind receives its marching orders. It begins to guide you subtly, persistently toward opportunities you once overlooked, toward ideas you once dismissed, toward actions you once feared. But beware, this is not a game of idle imagination. It is a discipline of the highest order. You must feel it, you must live it, you must embody it. If you assume wealth, then carry yourself with the responsibility and clarity of one who possesses it. If you assume success, then think with the decisiveness of one who has achieved it. If you assume victory, then move with the confidence of one who has already won. For the world does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your state of being. Time, as you perceive it, is not your master. It is merely the canvas upon which your beliefs are painted. When you collapse time through belief, you no longer chase your destiny, you attract it. So I ask you today, what would change in your life if you truly believed your greatest goal had already been accomplished yesterday? How would you think? How would you act? How would you speak? Begin there, live there, and watch as the world rearranges itself, not by chance, but by the quiet power of a mind that refuses to wait. Assume it happened yesterday, and step boldly into the life that is already yours. The idea of collapsing time through belief begins with a radical shift in perception. You stop viewing your goal as something distant and start experiencing it as something already accomplished. Most people stretch their dreams across months or years, unknowingly creating resistance. When you mentally place your success in the past, it already happened. You remove the tension of waiting. The mind relaxes, and in that relaxed certainty, it becomes far more receptive to opportunity and decisive action. Belief, in this sense, is not passive wishing. It is an active state of acceptance. When you truly believe something has already occurred, your internal dialogue changes. You no longer question if or when. Instead, you begin to think from the position of someone who has already achieved the result. This shift is subtle but powerful. It eliminates hesitation and replaces it with clarity, because the mind now works to maintain consistency with what it accepts as true. As this belief deepens, your emotional state begins to align with it. You feel gratitude instead of longing, confidence instead of doubt, and calm assurance instead of anxiety. These emotions are not decorative, they are directive. They signal to your subconscious mind that the goal is now part of your identity. Once that happens, your subconscious starts influencing your behavior, decisions, and focus in ways that support this assumed reality. What follows is a transformation in action. When time is collapsed through belief, you stop acting like someone chasing a goal and start acting like someone expressing a result. Your decisions become bolder, your persistence stronger, and your awareness sharper. Opportunities that once seemed invisible now stand out clearly because your mind is tuned to recognize anything that aligns with your already achieved state. Ultimately, collapsing time through belief is about mastering inner certainty. It is the disciplined practice of holding a mental position so firmly that reality begins to organize itself around it. The outer world may still appear unchanged at first, but internally, everything has shifted, and that internal shift is the true beginning of transformation. When belief reaches that level of conviction, time no longer feels like a barrier. It becomes a pathway that simply reveals what you have already claimed. Desire by itself is a beginning, but it is a weak beginning. Millions of people desire success, wealth, recognition, or freedom, yet remain exactly where they are. Why? Because desire without emotional certainty is like a flame without fuel. It flickers, but it does not sustain. Emotional certainty, on the other hand, transforms a simple wish into a commanding force that influences thought, behavior, and outcome. Mere desire is often accompanied by doubt. A person says, "I want this," but internally questions whether it is possible, whether they are worthy, or whether the timing is right. These hidden contradictions dilute the power of desire. The mind cannot move confidently in two opposing directions at once. Emotional certainty eliminates this conflict by establishing a single, dominant belief. This is mine, and it is already in motion. Emotional certainty is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It does not beg for results, it expects them. When you reach this state, you no longer chase your goals with desperation. Instead, you move with a sense of inevitability. There is a calm assurance in your thinking, a firmness in your decisions, and a resilience in your actions that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. This level of certainty is built through repetition and emotional involvement. It requires you to consistently impress your mind with the feeling of already having achieved your goal. Not occasionally, not when convenient, but daily with intention. The more vividly and frequently you experience this emotional state, the more natural it becomes, until it is no longer an exercise, but your default way of thinking. As emotional certainty takes root, fear begins to lose its authority. Fear thrives in uncertainty, in the what if it doesn't work mindset. But when certainty dominates, fear finds no ground to stand on. You begin to take action not because you are fearless, but because your belief in the outcome is stronger than any fear that arises. This is the turning point where progress accelerates. Another powerful effect of emotional certainty is alignment. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to move in harmony. There is no internal resistance, no second guessing, no scattered effort. Everything you do starts to support your assumed reality. This alignment creates momentum, and momentum, once established, carries you forward with increasing speed and confidence. In the end, emotional certainty is what separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. Desire asks, hopes, and waits. Certainty decides, acts, and persists. When you replace desire with emotional certainty, you stop wishing for change and start embodying it. And when you embody it fully, the results you once longed for begin to appear, not as surprises, but as confirmations of what you already knew to be true. The subconscious mind is the silent architect of your life. It does not argue, question, or judge. It simply accepts what it is repeatedly given and works tirelessly to make it real. Whether those inputs are empowering or limiting makes no difference to it. This is why understanding and directing the subconscious is not merely helpful, it is essential for anyone who intends to shape their destiny deliberately. From early life, the subconscious is programmed by environment, experiences, and repetition. Many of these impressions are formed unconsciously, often rooted in fear, limitation, or doubt. Left unexamined, these patterns continue to operate in the background, influencing decisions, reactions, and self-image. What appears to be reality is often nothing more than a reflection of these deeply embedded instructions. Reprogramming begins with awareness. One must first recognize that current results are not fixed truths, but outcomes of past conditioning. This realization alone is powerful. It shifts responsibility from external circumstances to internal control. When you accept that the subconscious can be rewritten, you reclaim authority over the direction of your life. The next step is intentional input. The subconscious responds most strongly to repetition combined with emotion. Words alone are not enough. They must be charged with feeling. When you consistently present a clear idea, such as the assumption that your goal has already been achieved, and attach strong positive emotion to it, the subconscious begins to accept it as fact. Visualization plays a critical role in this process. The mind does not clearly distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. By repeatedly visualizing your desired outcome as already complete, you create mental memories that the subconscious adopts. Over time, these imagined experiences begin to carry the same weight as actual events, influencing your behavior accordingly. Emotion is the amplifier. A thought without emotion is weak and easily dismissed. But a thought infused with certainty, gratitude, and excitement penetrates deeply. This is why emotional certainty is essential to reprogramming. It acts as the force that embeds new beliefs into the subconscious structure. The stronger the feeling, the faster and more effectively the impression is made. Consistency is where most fail. Reprogramming is not a one-time act, but a disciplined practice. The old patterns have been reinforced over years, sometimes decades. To replace them, you must persist with equal or greater intensity. Daily repetition, morning and night, is especially effective, as the subconscious is more receptive during these transitional states. As the new programming takes hold, subtle changes begin to appear. Your thoughts become more aligned with your desired outcome. Your reactions shift. You begin to notice opportunities that once escaped your attention. These changes may seem small at first, but they signal a deeper transformation. The subconscious is beginning to operate under new instructions. Eventually, these internal shifts translate into external results. Actions become more decisive, persistence strengthens, and your overall presence reflects confidence and clarity. What once required effort begins to feel natural. This is the hallmark of successful reprogramming. The new belief no longer feels forced. It feels like who you are. In the end, subconscious reprogramming is the process of becoming, not just achieving. It is about installing a new identity that naturally produces the results you seek. When the subconscious fully accepts this identity, there is no struggle, no resistance, only expression. And in that state, success is not something you chase. It is something you inevitably live. To act in harmony with the fulfilled state means to bring your behavior into alignment with the version of yourself who has already achieved the desired result. It is not enough to think or feel success. You must move in a way that reflects it. Action is the visible expression of belief, and without it, even the strongest internal conviction remains incomplete. Most people act according to their current circumstances, reacting to what is rather than responding from what they intend to become. This creates a cycle where the present continually reinforces itself. But when you act from the fulfilled state, you break that cycle. You no longer let conditions dictate your behavior. Instead, your behavior begins to shape your conditions. This requires a deliberate shift in identity. You must ask yourself, how does the successful version of me think, decide, and respond? Then, without waiting for proof, you begin to embody those traits. This may feel unnatural at first, but that discomfort is simply the gap between your old conditioning and your new direction. Decision-making becomes one of the clearest indicators of alignment. When you operate from the fulfilled state, your choices reflect confidence and clarity. You are less likely to hesitate, overanalyze, or retreat. Instead, you make decisions with a sense of ownership, as though the outcome is already secured and your role is simply to carry it forward. Your standards also begin to rise. The fulfilled version of you does not tolerate mediocrity, distraction, or self-sabotage. Acting in harmony means adjusting your habits, your environment, and even your associations to match the level you claim to occupy. This is not about perfection. It is about consistency and direction. Language plays a subtle but powerful role. The way you speak to others and to yourself must reflect completion, not lack. Replace phrases rooted in uncertainty with those grounded in assurance. This shift in language reinforces your internal state and signals to your subconscious that the new identity is in control. Another key aspect is persistence. Acting in harmony does not mean everything becomes easy. It means you remain steady regardless of temporary setbacks. The fulfilled state is not shaken by delays or obstacles because it operates from certainty, not circumstance. Each challenge is approached as part of the process, not a sign of failure. There is also a refinement in focus. Distractions lose their appeal when you are aligned with a clear identity. You become more selective with your time and energy, investing them in actions that support your assumed reality. This focus compounds over time, creating momentum that accelerates progress. Importantly, acting in harmony does not mean forcing unrealistic behavior or ignoring practical reality. It means choosing responses that are consistent with growth, confidence, and direction. It is a balance between vision and grounded action, between who you are becoming and what must be done today. As this alignment strengthens, others begin to notice. Your presence changes. There is a sense of certainty in how you carry yourself, a clarity in your communication, and a purpose in your actions. Opportunities, connections, and resources begin to appear, not by chance, but because your behavior now matches the level required to attract them. In the final analysis, acting in harmony with the fulfilled state is the bridge between inner belief and outer achievement. It transforms imagination into reality through consistent, aligned behavior. When your actions, thoughts, and identity all point in the same direction, progress becomes inevitable, and the life you envisioned is no longer a distant goal, but a lived experience.